Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Moneytalks. My name is Francis Sifo. On today's episode, we are going to be exploring the Excel template that I mentioned about that you can actually use to manage and track all your savings and investments in one single place, so that way you can see how well you're doing with your finances. If this is your first time on the channel, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the video. Like I already mentioned before, Money Talks is all about having conversations about personal finance, money, and building wealth. As well, on the worksheet, you will also see like a workbook section which talks about how you can capture what the excess is left from your monthly cash flow and potentially how to use that to plan around the options and the opportunities you can invest in on a one-by-one basis. On that note, let's jump right in and explore the template. Okay, so let's jump right into the template. Like I said, if you look clearly here, you can see that it captures a couple of things. Starting balance. This for me is usually very useful if you're already using the template for previous years. What this will capture will be like what the final balance is at the end of the year, so that way as you enter a new year, you can look at where you're coming from the previous year as you update your template, right? But I think the core focus will just be on the investment section. So as you capture your investments on this area, enter the amount, whether it's a dollar amount or a naira amount, and what the current value of that investment is. It does a lot of the calculation in terms of showing what is your return on investment for that investment, and then it will sum that all up and put them at the top here. There's a section that is reflecting this for your investments, and then as well there's a section reflecting that as well for your savings. So let's just jump right in and take a look at how this can be used. So let's use, say for instance, I bought some FG bonds. Let's imagine that I bought 300,000 naira worth of those bonds, and it is valued at current value of that bond with the coupon is at 340,000 naira. I'm assuming just an assumed case. So if you notice here clearly, it's telling me that, hey, I invested 300,000 naira. The current worth of that investment is at 340, and the return on that investment is 40,000 naira. You see, it's already reflecting at the top here. I'll just use another scenario as well. Let's imagine that I have an agro investment, right? Depending on where it is purchased from. Let's say I invested 100,000 naira as well, and that is currently the return on maturity. It will be, let's say, 120,000 naira. So if you notice here now, clearly showing me that yes, I have two investments, and then if you notice at the top here, it is lumping up like what is the total investment amount, what is the total balance of those investments, and what is the total return on investment across board. For me, I just find this very, very easy for me to manage, because what that means is that every time I'm looking at this sheet, just looking at this top section alone, I can quickly already tell how much have I invested, what is the current worth of that total investment, what is the return I have made from that investment, as well as what is the goal I actually want to try and hit. So if you're looking at this as well, I might as well say, hey, I'm already close to 50% to my goal in this case, even though in terms of, from an investment perspective, I'm more closer to like 100% to the investment, because the goal is 500, and in this case I've already done 460. But I have not met any of my goal on the side of like savings, even, right? So let's go to savings angle, right? So you might actually have maybe your bank account, right? Let's say you have XYZ bank that you use, and you currently have let's say you currently have 50,000 naira in it. A lot of the time, your bank will probably not be giving you interest, so it will probably still be 50,000 naira, right? But if you are using, let's say, a savings app, so whatever the savings app that you use, in this case, you might have already saved, let's say, 14,000 naira. Depending on how long you've been using the app, what will likely happen is that most of them will pay you a certain amount of interest every single month. And in that case, let's imagine that as of today, you've been using this app for the last 2 to 3 months, you might be currently, let's say, 14,500, So this is basically like how you would use it. Like I said, it could also be that I know there are some apps as well that allow you to have savings in dollars. And so if you're using one that let's call it SYZ Invest, or whatever the case is, right? Let's imagine you've invested $100 and currently it is worth $115. So it's the same thing, right? You just want to only capture it, depending on what currency it is, you capture it on this side of the sheet or on this side of the sheet, depending on whether it is a dollar investment or a dollar savings or a naira savings. Same thing whether it is a dollar investment or a naira investment. And if you go back up automatically, what you will see is that on my savings side, this should actually be updating. Oh, I must have touched the formulas. I'm so sorry. Let me just update this one right here. So this is the 67. This is 67. Okay, sorry. 67. 67. Awesome. So, right, I must have updated it. Okay, so what you can already clearly see is that on my dollar side, I currently have both savings and investment is currently at 100, and in terms of how much I've put in, and the current worth is at 115, and I have actually made $15 for my return of this investment, and my goal for the year in this case, let's say, is like $2,500. So this is like how you will use the template, or like how I've used the template. Like I said, you can regularly, maybe on a monthly basis or every 3 months or 6 months, update the sheets to capture what the current situation looks like. And it just makes it a lot more easy, because every time you open it up, just by looking here, you can clearly tell how well you are doing in terms and in relation to your goals, right? And the reason why this is obviously for me very useful is that, yes, these investments or savings are probably in different applications or platforms that you have them. This just helps me consolidate all of that into one single source of truth, where I can see where is my money at, right? Where do I have my money sitting, whether it is an investment or a saving, and then allow me to make much more very clear, defined decision around what next steps to take, because I can then start seeing, hey, how well is this asset performing? Do I want to continue to invest in this particular asset class? Do I want to diversify into a different asset class? That is something obviously I'll be making some updates to the template in the coming months to ensure that probably will capture like the asset class and stuff like that as well. And maybe more like a dashboard that shows you like in charts and graph all of this other information. So this is basically it around what I use that I think will be useful. I'll put a link to the template so you can download it and take it for a spin, make as much edits and modifications to the template. And hopefully to be useful for you. The other sheet that I mentioned about is more around what you can then use to plan for, hey, I have additional cash flow after I've removed my core expenses. So you remember on the first episode we talked about performing your personal financial audit and then defining what your monthly recurring expense is, and even the need for why you should have a miscellaneous budget. If you've not watched that episode, make sure you go back to watch that. I think that would be very useful. And I think in that particular episode, we had like a scenario. We had an individual we used as an example where we looked at, he was earning like 200,000 naira. And when we split and planned around his expense, it came to about 120,000 naira monthly that he was spending. I think thereabout, that he was spending every single month on his core bills as well as meeting other needs, as the case may be. So if that is the case, you can then say, hey, so if you notice in this case, I've just basically captured, because for most people, they probably earn a salary, what the salary amount they earn. So this is assuming that the individual we used, the salary is not changing all through the year. Obviously, the goal will be that he improves in his earning throughout the year, but assuming that doesn't change, that is consistent all through the year, we have that captured here. And then this is, so you notice they actually added another column for what I call like monthly cash flow. And this might be any additional income. So if you have like a side hustle or any other activity that you're doing that is giving you monthly income that is reasonably predictable, you can capture that here as well, right? and that will form your net cash flow. So let's imagine that in this case, I just want to use as an example that if this individual was getting, maybe every 3 months gets 10,000 naira, right? So if you notice now, that changes here to like 210, I'll just add that here, and I'll add that. I'll just add a few more places. I just wanted to show you what that looks right? So in our calculation at the end of the day, we are using this net cash flow to then do a lot of the planning, right? So if you notice automatically here, we are seeing what is the total expense he owns. We are just flatlining it that his monthly expenses bounded all through the year. Like I said, this will vary, but that will mean that at the end of the year, this is how much he would have spent, right, consistently all through the year. Now here I can then decide, okay, so if I remove my expenses, I'm left with 90,000 naira this month, 80,000 naira this month, 90,000 naira, and it just varies, right? So I can say, hey, for my FG bond in January, so let's say I want to buy bonds, right? I want to use my XYZ saving app, right? I want to also have, maybe that one is the one in dollar. I want to have the XYZ, let me just call it XYZ Naira, right? I want to also write like my agro invest, or whatever the case may be. If you have that, sorry. You might also have a bit of mutual funds, so I'll just put this. A lot of people used to buy treasury bills, but not that much anymore, but I'll just have that as, so you can, whatever the instrument or the investment or the savings options you're considering, you can capture that here on the side. And then you can then say, hey, in January, how much of my excess do I want to commit to bonds? So I can say, hey, let's imagine I'm going to put in January 50,000 naira into bonds. And then in my savings app, I'll put for the dollar one, I'll put let's say 15,000 naira. For the naira one, so you can see automatically what I have left is 25,000 naira. So let me just say I'll put 10,000 naira here. And I'll probably not be able to put anything here. So let me just put the rest 15,000 naira in T-bills. Right, this is just an example. So you can then plan, and maybe in February I'm saying, okay, you know what, in February I won't buy bonds again, I'll wait. I'll probably want to then double up again. Like for your savings, you might want to, some people just do like a consistent amount every month. So if that is the case, I can say, hey, I'll do this all through the year. So 15,000 naira goes there consistently every month. And then I can say, hey, but in February, I want to buy a bit of agro investment, right? I want to do maybe mutual funds here. Now, these values might not just be, it's just for example purposes, right? And I'll buy T-bills again. And this is like how I think you can plan for it. And then just alternate that, essentially planning around what is left after your expenses, really, to see how do you then save or invest what is left after you've removed what your expenses. Now the goal with this, and why I think this is also very, very critical, very useful, is that if you do it this way, immediately your salary comes in, or your income comes in, or you receive that critical amount, before you start spending, before you start quickly spending, quickly ensure that all of these items you've captured that you want to perform for the month, that you can quickly cover these items first. You have these funds already moved out to face them. And then what will then ideally be left is only what should be the use value, which should cover your monthly expense, and then you can go ahead and start spending. So really, I hope that has been really, really useful for somebody. Like I said, I'll put the link to the template in the description of the video. There's a whole lot you can do about this. Please take it for a spin. Like I said, you can modify it, you can tweak it around. This has been very useful for me because it ensures that I'm a bit more disciplined around what I want, what I'm investing and saving in, because I can plan towards it properly. And like I said, you can make modifications to the template. I'll probably be doing updates in the coming weeks. There are a couple of thoughts I have towards switching up the templates a bit. If that happens, I'll probably do another video talking about the updates. But really, that is it, right? So yes, I hope this has been really, really useful for you. Like I said, take a look at the template, take it for a spin. It has been really useful for me to actually track. And usually what I do is that at the end of every new year, I just duplicate the sheets, I save a copy, and then I use it for the new year. I just rename it so that way I can see, okay, what am I doing for this new year. I feel like if you use both of them together, you have a very clear picture of what is in your portfolio. Because what usually happens is that if I have investments that are transitioning between years, because you have investments that are like for 3 years, 5 years, right? What I will just do is I will do a copy, right? So I will probably do a copy of this particular one. I'll say create a copy, right? And if you notice now, let's imagine this is I'll probably just rename this. I just want to show you how this will work. And I'll probably name this, let's say 2022. Now if you notice as well, if I go between the same values idea, because my investments are, every single thing that was in 2021 is still in 2022. The key difference is now is in 2022, all the changes I will update them in this sheet, not on the 2021 sheet anymore. And that way, because if I look back, I can say, hey, at the end of 2021, what was my investment and savings portfolio looking like? At the end of 2022, what was that looking like? So once we get into a new year, I always take a new snapshot by duplicating the template, the sheets, and then just continue from there. Okay, so pretty much that is it for the episode today. Like I said, I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to like, to subscribe, and share with your loved ones. Yes, and in coming episodes, we'll be looking at a bit more, something very, very interesting. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks and bye.